Okay, I'd like to call to order the Spark City Council meeting of October 8th, 2018 with a roll call, please.
Mayor Martini?
Here.
Council members Abbott?
Here.
Lawson?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Bybee?
Here.
Deere?
Here.
Acting City Attorney Eiding? Here. City Manager Driscoll?
Here.
We have a quorum, thank you.
Okay, if you'd all stand for the invocation speaker, we have again Pastor Barbara West from the Sparks Nazarene Church. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you so much. Would you bow your heads in prayer with me, please? Our Heavenly Father, what a privilege it is to live in these United States. And thank you for placing us in this city called Sparks. We pray today that you will be with us here in Sparks, and particularly with Mayor Gino Martini and this fine council. Enable them to lead us, Lord, because they're the ones that we've entrusted leadership to. And so we know if they follow you and you give them the wisdom to lead, they will do what is best for all of us who belong to this part of the world called Sparks. Lord, we're thankful for each and every homeschool people, every school teacher, every student, and we pray that you would keep all of our students and teachers safe. We also would lift up our police officers and our first responders, our firefighters, EMT people, and keep them safe and help them as well, Lord. And so today, as we turn this meeting over to you, we ask that our mayor would continue to lead us in the truth that you would have us to go. And we pray these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Barb, I promise we won't let you down or the Lord, okay?
Okay, thank you.
If you'd remain standing, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Lawson, would you lead us, please?
Yes, please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, next is public comment. I have 3 cards. First is Wendy Damani, and come on up, Wendy. Welcome.
Welcome to you as well. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. My name is Wendy Damonte, Vice President of Advocacy and Community Partnerships at Renown Health. I'm here to share a very important update with a project that many of you are involved in. The Healthy Nevada Project, led by Renown Health Institute of Health Innovation, the IHI, has achieved another landmark milestone. We are now returning clinical results to consenting study participants, and if they choose, providing guidance for treatment and add additional testing for family members. This is a key step in study researchers, care providers, and scientists begin working on a number of clinical programs and scientific studies focused on Washoe County's highest age-adjusted death rates for heart disease, cancer, and chronic lower respiratory disease. Locally, these collective conditions are 33% higher than the national rate. In just 2 years, the Healthy Nevada Project, a collaboration between Renown Health and the Desert Research Institute Foundation, has quickly evolved. In September of 2016, the pilot project enrolled 10,000 participants in just 48 hours. In March of 2018, Phase 2 expanded to an additional 40,000 participants with genetic testing partner Helix. Through Helix's genomic sequencing, the Healthy Nevada Project is receiving 100 times more data, allowing both study volunteers and researchers to gain greater insights to improve our local health. That is the goal of this project, and that's what this report is about. It's actually happening. Returning results for familial hypercholesterolemia known as FH, I'll call it FH from now on, right, is a prime example. FH is an inherited defect in how the body recycles LDL or bad cholesterol. In late July, a paper published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology recommended genetic testing become the standard of care for patients who have a definite or probable diagnosis of FH. The Healthy Nevada Project is doing just that. Dr. Christopher Rowan, renowned Institute for Heart and Vascular Health cardiologist and renowned IHI medical director of research, is now contacting study volunteers who ask to be notified of their risk, people like your neighbors in Sparks. Additionally, the Healthy Nevada team is offering genetic testing at no cost to anyone in their family who may also be at risk and providing treatment recommendations to help reduce future risk. Committed to providing study participants clinically actionable data that will truly help improve their health, FH notification is just the first step. In the coming months, the project will also notify study volunteers at risk for other CDC Tier 1 conditions, including hereditary breast and ovarian cancer syndrome, BRCA1 and BRCA2. Those genes signifies an 85% chance of developing these cancers by the age of 80. And Lynch syndrome, which increases risk factor for colorectal and endometrial cancers, average age of onset for Lynch syndrome is just 45 years old. The Healthy Nevada Project is focusing on these conditions because they are the most prevalent in the population, and early detection will save lives. Phase 2 of the Healthy Nevada Project is still recruiting participants over the age of 18 to take part in genetic testing at no cost. You can learn more and sign up, all of your family and friends, for free at healthynv.org. On a completely other note, Renown is honored to purchase a table at Mayor Martini's farewell event coming up next month. Tony Slonim and his wife Sheila, as well as many of us from Renown who would not miss that event, will be there in your honor.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time and for letting me update you on this important news from Renown.
Damn, Wendy, you're good.
Right on it. Bam.
Right on the three. God dang it. You must have been in the media before.
Something like that.
Okay, next we have Bill Wagner. Come on up, Bill.
See if Bill can talk that fast.
Well, I can, but not for that long.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, for the record, my name is Bill Wagner. And what I would like to do first is thank everybody sitting in those big black chairs for putting up for me with the last year.
You're not leaving us, are you, Bill?
Huh?
You'll be back, won't you?
Oh, yeah, I'll be back. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried. Ron's worried, but
I would like to address to the Mayor Gino. The many years you've been working for the city of Sparks in multiple positions, I personally believe the job you enjoyed the most was being Sparks mayor. In 2005, you were asked to take the mayor's position. 2006 started 3 election terms. You are now holding this distinction of being the longest in history of years as the mayor of Sparks. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, Bill. I don't know if that's good or bad, but
it's very good. How lucky we Sparks voters were having you as their mayor. Your management style has been fantastic. You could be stern at times when it was required, but most of the time, you put everyone in the chambers at ease with your humor. This is why I would like to present you with a gavel, a second gavel, I guess, in honor of your times here.
well, thank you very much, Bill. That's wonderful.
Don't fall down.
So you can order at your home to your wife. You'd be like,
Thanks, Bill. Beautiful.
very nice.
Thanks, Bill.
I'll be using that. Geez, it works pretty good, Bill. Thanks. Okay, I have one more speaker, Mark Amadei. That's a familiar name. It says here, U.S. House of Representatives. Okay, is that United States, sir? Or? Come on down, Mark. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming to visit the city of Sparks. We appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Your Honor, council members.
You know, we're going to suspend the 3-minute rule because you are you. You know, that's. I know you can't talk for less than 3 minutes. It's not going to happen. So we'll just suspend the rules, let you go.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
I've been I guess in keeping with the festivities today, since everybody's so anxious to see you go on, I have a presentation to make. This is a flag that our office had flown over the United States Capitol, not during any Supreme Court confirmation hearing.
I was worried about that.
Yeah, it was flown on September 17th, 2018. Your folks have been nice enough to have it framed for you, so I'd like you not to take it out of the frame and fly it. If you need another one for that, we'd be happy to get you that. But congratulations on your retirement and the great job that you've done.
Thanks.
There you are, Your Honor.
Thanks, Congressman.
Also, since I was concerned for the other folks that sit up here and are part of the team that's been part of your successful run as the mayor, about 5 years ago when I was meeting with a group in Elko that meets at breakfast, I was going over, okay, so I'm meeting with those folks for breakfast tomorrow and blah, 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 and, you know, they're the coffee clats or whatever. It's like, no, they're the pecan club. And I go, oh, the drink. And it's like, no, pecan. People in charge of Nevada. Kind of clever, those Elko people.
Very, very clever.
So, because I didn't have anything better to do, he said, you know, let's get a logo made up and let's have chapters in each town. And Elko gets to be chapter number 1 because they thought of it. But anyhow, it was brought to my attention by the Nanini brothers, Michael and Anthony, who have some knowledge of what kind of guy you were in your younger days before you became as esteemed as you are now, that we needed a chapter in the Rail City. And so we have a People in Charge of Nevada pecan hat in the Sparks Railroader colors. Sorry, Reed Raiders and Spanish Spring folks. Sparks on the back. But because it's not just always about you, I have some for everybody on the dais today.
Great, good.
So wear them proudly.
Thank you, sir. That's awesome.
Thanks, sir.
You bet.
So we're chapter 14.
You're wearing it backwards, Jim. Well, and listen, it was,
I don't think so. And I'm not going to look like a duck bill either. So.
and listen, there are some people that complain about how did we get this chapter or whatever the heck, and it's like it kind of went by sheep population, and so there you have it.
These are awesome.
So, please. Oh, you too.
Put on your hats.
Some respect.
Yeah.
What button you want me to hit on this? So we...
Is it on? Smith is good at this. So.
Oh, there we go.
What's that?
Oh, you're going to stay.
That's right.
Excuse me, can't
Just
see
be
my
ready
face.
for the golf tournament.
Oh, sorry, Ron. Okay, hold the phone just one second.
Thank
One
you.
more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I broke your camera.
The worse yet, her iPad.
There you go. Everybody.
Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate that. And I think you're still about 45 seconds under 3 minutes, so don't, you know.
Okay, anybody want to talk about the Washington update, which is, oh, there we go. I've just been buzzed out.
Go for it. Tell
Thank
us
you,
what's
and
going-
God
tell us
bless the
what's going on.
railroaders.
Exactly.
Hey, just a couple, that's right.
You got a railroader, right? We got 2 railroaders.
Two railroaders.
There you go. The brick house.
Woo-woo.
Just a couple things. We try to get in front of all the political subdivision governing bodies throughout the district at least once a year to kind of say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what we think is on your radar screen, but also if there's something we've missed or anything else like that. And I want to start out, Your Honor, and council members by saying this, that your staff is easy to work with. And somebody goes, what the heck does that mean? It's like, listen, when we're working on something together, the communication is excellent, the help is excellent. When we ask for something to enable us to be better, more effective on what we're doing or something like that. So I want to say publicly on your record that we appreciate the folks in the city manager's office all the way across the board there in terms of the staff that you folks have here. I appreciate that, and I also want you to know that I did not slip when I referred to the place that's a little closer to California as West Sparks. That was on purpose, and it had the desired effect in front of those people on that governing board. So there we go. I want to start out real quick with the Washoe County Lands Bill. We've appeared in front of the County Commission and the Reno City Council also, and I know it's a big topic and it's a big deal, and lands bills are a big thing, but I want to start out by saying there is no schedule. And so what I have said at the other meetings is listen, when the coordination and the discussion and the back and forth or whatever gets done, and we get to the point where we've got resolutions from this city council, the other city council, and the county commission saying we support this, then it'll start. Now, that's not a threat. That's not an advocacy. It's just like, hey, that's kind of the way on the House side anyhow. It's like, listen, when you've got some level of consensus, then that's great. We'll get started. If it comes to the point where there is not a consensus amongst those three governing bodies, then we'll look at what the issues are, be very open and transparent about it, and say, well, is it something where it would lend itself to a Sparks bill? Or because I can tell you already that the Incline Village General Improvement District people are taking a look at doing their own, because quite frankly, they're in a different watershed and some other things that are going on. And it's a lot less to do with planning and zoning and that sort of stuff. And so it's something we're going to take a look at in terms of, hey, if that works better, then we'll go with that. So anyhow, I just wanted to say that we are not here to say this is what you ought to be doing in your part of the county or in your city or whatever. That's your job, not ours. But we will be looking for some level of consensus. Now, I know some of my good friends at the local newspaper say, well, if it's not unanimous, then you shouldn't do it. Quite frankly, there's not much that anybody does unanimous these days, and especially when you do it when you're talking about a lands bill. So I've had some fun telling some people, aren't those fun? But I just wanted to start out with that there are no requirements as far as that we are going to put on, other than it doesn't make much sense to start a lands bill for the whole county if part of the major governing structure of the county isn't basically in favor of it. So, and there's no hidden meeting there, so that's kind of it. Now, I know that some of the issues that we've talked about cemeteries, we've talked about opportunity zones, stuff like that. Great. If it works in the context of a lands bill, then yeehaw. And if it doesn't, then we'll work it outside of one. Obviously, I don't think it's a real controversial thing to say, hey, we'd like a cemetery because we don't have one in this municipality. Not exactly the sort of stuff that controversy is made of. But nonetheless, as that goes forward, as always, we've had input from staff and members, and as we continue to go through that, we expect that input will continue, just so that we monitor it. So with that, I want to talk about a couple other things. I'm mindful of your time, so I'll just jump into them. Although I got to tell you, I'm a little upset hearing about cholesterol and stuff like that as a guy who just turned 60 and we're just down the street from Scoopers driving. I mean, how insensitive is that? Come on.
Well, I'm 72. I got the same problem.
Okay, good. I feel better then. So anyhow, I want to talk about some stuff that deals with transportation. There's been talk about I-11. I-11 is something that the Congress put on the roadmap, no pun intended, a couple of years ago, because the starting point was this. I-5's here in the west, I-15's over here in Utah, and between the two is about 600 miles. So the thought was, we need another interstate level transportation improvement in that 600-mile swath. I start out with that because A, it's at the beginning, and B, although everybody thinks it's a neat thing to have your own interstate, so everybody's like, yeah, I'll take one of those. It's like, quite frankly, and by the way, your Regional Transportation Commission, I think, is doing a pretty good job when we're talking about that. It's like, do we need help on 80 East? I don't need to tell this group of folks, yeah. Do we need to try to run another interstate through here that's supposed to go north-south and split that? Now, I'm not an engineer, as you will remind everybody, Your Honor, but it's one of those things where even if you got it to get to somewhere in the Truckee Meadows, where are you going to go north when you leave there? Modoc National Forest? Comes out where in Oregon? And I'm not, and by the way, this is not imminent, but God forbid you have a decade or two to plan for actual construction of those sorts of things in terms of how that works in your community. Quite frankly, I see it in the context of the Truckee Meadows as an opportunity for us in conjunction with that and another two words that always gets people's attention, Yucca Mountain, to basically say, hey, feds, since you're talking about this new arterial, and if you decide, and by the way, I think it's one of those issues one of the few issues that is bipartisan in DC these days, when we start talking about how all those stocks up in Washington and Idaho that are Department of Defense stuff that will be heading to that facility if they open it, how it gets there, I'm not sure that many of your constituents, my constituents, anybody's constituents in the Truckee Meadows said, please bring it through the spaghetti bowl. We'd love to have it pass through. So when we talk about that improvement and we talk about things like basically between Tonopah and Winnemucca is the only real wrestling match. How do you get from Tonopah to Winnemucca? And so when you talk about, well, you could go up the existing 95 alignment, and that basically means you got to figure out how to get along the west side of Walker Lake with a little bit of topography, a lot of bit of cultural resources, and by the way, some sovereign nation Schurz Paiute reservation ground that is not free as opposed to the federal stuff. And then you got to cross it. You got to build an interstate improvement to cross the Walker River and the wetlands associated with that. You know, finding money for those sorts of things is not exactly a junior varsity home game.
Hook me up for that, would you?
Yeah. So as we talk about the likelihood of it going to Fallon, and then with the natural wishbone there, the highway that you go on one of the wishbone to Fernley and you hook on I-80, and then the other one's to Lovelock, and then you go up to Winnemucca and do your thing. The question becomes, how do we leverage, if that's going to be it, the opportunity to do the improvements that need to be done to I-80 and other regional collectors and stuff like that. So I'm not saying that's where we think it should be. Ultimately, that will be made by the State Transportation Board, but we're going to encourage them to do that sooner rather than later, at least that stretch through Churchill and Mineral counties, and a little bit through Lyon. And so if it's going to come out on I-80 at Fernley and at the junction there that's like 20 miles this side of Lovelock, then what do we need to do in terms of making this side of the Truckee Meadows flow better in terms of absorbing what comes this way from that part of the wishbone, and what do we do just to solve the problem that's now? And so you say, well, where are you coming up with all this? The people in Clark County have, and I think rightfully so, included in the legislation language that says you ain't bringing it through our town, okay? And so it's like, that's good. Good for the goose, good for the gander. So if it's the will of the governing bodies in the Truckee Meadows, then it's like, okay, so let's talk about how you don't bring it through town, but make us flow better because of the improvement itself. So forewarned is forearmed. Planning and zoning, one of your major responsibilities of office. A lot of your staff time spent on that. Food for thought. There's some seeds there. We'll see if they get watered. So with that, that's the quick version, because I know you're like, hey, I've got to get to a golf tournament or another testimonial or something like that, Your Honor.
Exactly.
If there are any questions or anything, I'd be happy to respond to them. If there's something that you wanted to hear about,
I'm sure there's a couple questions, Congressman, but I want to make a comment about the lands bill. I'm pretty sure that we can, Steve, maybe we get something on the agenda to talk about that and see if we can get the resolution that the Congressman is looking for. I think our body will be good with that. And I'm so pleased that you said if the other bodies are arguing, we can go on our own and get a lands bill. That'd be perfect, I think. Because, you know, we've been down this road before where they argue, we do stuff. They argue, we do more stuff. So if we can't get them on board, we'll be ready to go. I'm sure I won't be here on the council, but I'm sure our council with a new mayor will be ready to go on something with a lands bill. So if we can't come to a consensus with the other two entities, I think we would be good to go.
Well, and Your Honor, to be quite frankly, it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I don't think it's a healthy thing to give any one group a veto over something that's in the right context. And so I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Questions? Ed?
the lands
John?
bill is, and we
You're
have
on.
some big plans for the lands bill, and it's our future. And it's not, to be held up by another entity. And I wasn't embarrassed, but I was concerned the way you were treated when you were in their
Absolutely.
chambers, and that bothered me a little bit. I know you got thick skin and you're okay with that, but you're here to help and to not be treated in that aspect. So I'm glad to hear about Sparks. I think Sparks and Washoe County can find some common ground and make this thing work. Reno is their own deal. They're going to have to live with whatever they decide. But we need to move forward. It's about survival for Sparks in the future and growth, and in an industrial center that's out of a flood zone.
Yes.
There's a novel concept.
Novel concept.
We're gonna actually build an industrial center that doesn't flood every 100 years. That's every 10 years. So it's a big deal for us.
And along with what Ed said, I agree 100%. I saw what happened at the Reno City Council, and I thought to myself, here's a sitting congressman, for crying out loud. How can you do that? But Ed's right. You have thick skin. I know you can take it, and you've taken worse than that, I'm sure. So, anyone? Go ahead, Christopher.
My question with the cemetery, obviously both have different, probably different lives to get there, and we have it all put together. Would it be wise to separate that so that could move a little quicker and we could see ourselves moving forward on something? Because that other lands bill has a lot more moving parts, it would seem, but we've attached something that maybe isn't so difficult. Does it seem wise to not attach it all together, or are we just kind of stuck doing it all at once?
You know what? I don't recall a discussion in that context. I'll tell you off the top of my head, my analysis would be this: there is no right answer or wrong answer. If there's another piece that's moving that's kind of germane, in other words, we just moved the Pershing County Public Lands Act, and the Senate actually marked it up and sent it out of committee, which is kind of a noteworthy thing for the Senate to have moved a bill out of that committee. But having said that, it's like if there's another piece of germane legislation, and there's other Nevada land stuff going on, but I mean, if it's germane, it's like, yeah, that's fine. Actually, we'll take a look at that and see if there's anything else. I will tell you that as we speak, though, here we are in October. The 115th Congress ends December 31st. They're 2 years long, so this is the second year. January 1st, everything starts over again. If it wasn't passed and signed by then you start all over again. Now, part of that sounds maudlin, and it's like, but it's like for something like that, quite frankly, we've got a pretty strong record working with Rob Bishop, who's the chairman of the Public Lands of the Natural Resources Committee, and the chairman of the Public Lands Committee. It's going to be good that I hope you don't tell him I forgot his name. McClintock, Chairman McClintock from California. He actually has the other side of Lake Tahoe, so we don't really have much in common. But so anyhow, we'll take a look at that in terms of if I still have the responsibility of representing you on November 7th, then we'll see for the cemetery thing about, hey, is there another way to do this? Or even, and I'm not ruling out standalone either. Maybe it's one of those ones where it's like, hey, this is a small bite. Let's just get it done, and then it's not hanging fire on anything else.
Thanks. Another question.
Anyone else? Well, Congressman, thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you,
And
folks.
that's good news about the land bill. I appreciate that.
You know, Mr. Mayor, just real quickly, because there's a lot of stereotypes affiliated with land bills, and so I want to just remind you on your record what is probably the most successful piece of public lands legislation in the history of the nation is the Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act. It turned 20 this year. It authorized the sale of 70,000 acres in what was probably the fastest growth real estate market in the nation for most of those 20 years. And if it wasn't the fastest percentage-wise, it was no lower than second or third. And you say, oh my God, a public lands bill. In 20 years, they've sold about 35,000 acres in that fastest growing market. That's about 1,750 acres a year on average. Why am I telling you that? That is not the wholesale destruction of the federal estate in Nevada, in the fastest growing jurisdiction in the state. That is not wholesale disregard of environmental issues. And oh, by the way, the proceeds of that have been used to do countless things that are conservation related and public lands related, and many of them up here in northern Nevada too. So you've sold that to developer, and by the way, they paid for it. It wasn't giving it away at those auctions, where you're like, oh, and so those monies were returned, much of them to the state to do conservation and resource-related things, not the least of which are up at Lake Tahoe. So all I am saying is, if it's about facts, then there are some strong facts to support doing some responsible public lands legislation.
Yeah,
Thank you for your-
I just don't see anything in the downside of what you just said. I mean, it's just, and I call them, Congressman, I call them the cave people, citizens against virtually everything. And they're the vocal minority, you know how that goes, so.
The final fact I will tell you is this: none of that legislation passes unless it's bipartisan. Most of the time that I've been back there, and most of the stuff we've passed, was when Harry Reid represented Nevada as the senior member of the Senate delegation. So for somebody to go, oh, you elephants or you whoever's, it's like, hey, they got to get through both houses. None of that stuff passes unless there's a conservation element and both sides are for it. Little fact, but it is in fact a fact.
Well, we don't want to confuse the story with facts, have we?
Don't let them get in the way.
I'll do my best, Your Honor. Thank
Anyone
you.
else want any comments?
Thank you. Thanks.
Congressman, thank you so much. You're always very, very good and gracious to the city of Sparks, and believe me, I appreciate it. So thanks for the good news, and carry on. Well, you'll be there for another 2 years.
And I'm banking on
to worry.
that, November the 6th, you'll be our
Not
re-elected
to worry.
congressman.
That's why they count the votes Tuesday night.
Yeah,
That's right.
All right.
Thank you.
Good luck, sir. Thank you.
See you at Scoopers.
Okay, there's the end of the comic relief for the day, so we'll get on with the real meeting now. Okay, next is approval of the agenda. Anybody want to take anything out of order? Okay, seeing none, looking for a motion. Mr. Smith.
Move to approve.
A second?
Second?
Mr. Dare, okay. It's been moved by Ron Smith, seconded by Ms. Bybee to approve the agenda as outlined by Stephanie. Further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Did yours come on?
Hello?
Please voice it.
Aye.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. So we do have a problem, is that right? Houston, we have a problem. Okay, all right. Okay, next is minutes. Consideration possible approval of the minutes of the regular Sparks City Council meetings of September 10, 2018 and September 24, 2018.
Move to approve.
Any,
Sorry. I was getting all excited.
that's all right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Dare, second by Mr. Lawson to approve the minutes outlined by Stephanie. Further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. Announcements, presentations, recognition items, and items for special interest. City manager announcement of vacancies on the Sparks Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The following committee appointments are available. The Sparks Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. The committee requires one member and one alternate from wards 1 through 5 and 2 members and one alternate from the mayor. Members shall be residents of the city of Sparks, preferably over the age of 55, who have a desire to learn more about interactions between the city's aging senior population and the city government and a willingness to share their collective knowledge with others. Persons interested in serving on this committee should complete a community service application available from the city clerk's office. You may also apply online at the city's website, www.cityofsparks.us. Click on Government on the webpage. Then under Boards and Commissions, click Volunteering for a Sparks Board or Commission. Then fill out the online application and submit. Applications will be accepted until the close of business on Friday, November 16th, 2018. That's all, sir. That's it.
Okay, let's move on to 7.2. Presentation 2017-18 Annual Report from the Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center. Welcome, gentlemen. Come on in, Doctor. Nice to see you, sir.
My pleasure, sir. Mr. Mayor, council members, and city manager. For the record, my name is Dr. Richard Simmons. I'm the president of the Sparks Heritage Museum and Cultural Center Board of Trustees. And while I'm trying to get our presentation up, I would like to comment it was very unfair to put me after Mark.
Big shoes to fill there, Bill.
Wait a minute, that's the wrong one.
What you mean? Yeah, the wrong one. Let me get my magnifying.
I don't see the mark. Oh, wait a minute, there it is. Sorry. And view, I'll get it right here in a minute. On screen. Okay. Thank you again. Again, thank you for this opportunity to present the annual report for the museum. On your hard paper handout, I've added 2 pages that are the full page copies of the budget and the financial report, because I can't read it either on the slide. So in any case, as you will note on the financial statement, you will notice that we finished the last fiscal year with a negative balance of $103.33. Although one might consider this as a negative aspect of our management, I believe it is an indication of our strong fiscal management. We have a very small budget and we do a lot of stuff. And I think we've done fairly well. We're extremely austere and we have limited financial resources. Our primary sources of income, as you will see, are memberships, donations, admissions, facility rentals, and grants for specific projects or activities. And I'm not going to go into any other details unless in questioning you want to have a response to a particular item. This is our budget for next year. Essentially, it's identical to what our expenses were this year. We're looking at $45,000 or thereabouts, which again, I think is very fiscally exciting in the sense that we do so much with so little. Now we get into the meat of the presentation. The next 3 slides summarize the many activities the museum has either sponsored or hosted during the past fiscal year. I believe that the information provided in these slides document the many and varied variety of cultural and educational activities that we've either sponsored or hosted, thereby contributing significantly to the opportunities for Sparks and Northern Nevadan citizens to learn about the culture and heritage of our communities. Please note that many of these events are free to the public. And again, I'll leave that up for a moment or two if you want to look at it. But be honest with you, when we compiled this report, I was surprised at how much we've done over the past year. And I couldn't get it all on one page. So it's been a very successful year, and I think our citizens who have taken advantage of it have appreciated it. Continuing on, again, further examples. And it's been an extremely successful effort to increase the variety of what we've presented to the public, from art shows to art education to lectures on the local history of the community and the Northern Nevada. And I think those of you who have participated have realized that, and we do appreciate that participation. These are tour groups that have been led by our docents, and as you notice, there's an awful lot of children in there. In fact, I've called out separately some of the school tours. on another slide. But we have a limited number of volunteers and docents, and I think these people have dedicated, as you will see on another slide, a lot of their effort and time and financial contributions to the accomplishment of our mission. Major donors over the last year, and I say major donors, these are folks that have contributed significant amounts of money. Unfortunately, we have a lot of smaller donors, and it would be 3 or 4 pages of that. But the board members have put a lot of time and financial donations of their own into the activities of the museum. Charlie Steiner, Last Chance Joe, and he helped establish an endowment fund with us. City of Sparks, Sue Tormark, and more. Schaefer Partners. Last Chance Joe was a significant project this past year, as I think everybody realizes. Well, Last Chance Joe, Schaefer Partners, Crown Painting, Jack Clare, Steve Lambardi, Marnell Gamming, Dennis and Ray Myers. All these people contributed significantly to that effort, and you'll see more acknowledgments of that in the slide about Last Chance Joe. The Kiwanis Club of Downtown Sparks has contributed to the republication of our long out-of-date coloring book, which we give to students, and seems to be pretty popular. It's also for sale in our bookstore, by the way, if you care to buy one. Local artists and artist organizations have been tremendous help to us in putting on the exhibits, and seem to be very popular. The Sparks Tribune has given us a weekly advertisement, which is very helpful. And then, of course, the collaboration with 39 North Marketplace. This was a very positive collaboration. Now, I left out, I should have gone back, excuse me 1 minute. Major donors, I left out a few things, which is very embarrassing, is the city's contributions over the last year. We have new carpet provided by the city. The siding on our second building, the old pharmacist building, has been replaced, and it's gorgeous. There's new paint on the building, and everything has been really moving along. The facade repairs are being negotiated at the moment for the stairwell that goes to the second floor from the outside. And this has all been extremely valuable to the museum, and something that's been well appreciated, and I should have never left it out. I apologize for that.
We'll get over it, Doctor. Don't worry about it.
Okay, visitor distribution. Obviously, our biggest group participating are the people from Reno and Sparks. Other Nevada, not Reno or Sparks, 13%, other states, 39%, and 3% international. Now, these statistics are not complete because we don't capture everything. It's based on the visitors who sign the visitors register and provide us with that information. We can't make them provide it. And so we ask them to sign in. And I'm guessing that probably we catch maybe 60% of the data. So I think you could up these numbers fairly significantly. And we had, as noted later in the presentation, over 4,500 visitors toured the train exhibit during this period. It's a very popular exhibit, and many thanks to our conductor, Dick Dryland, for doing the tours on Saturdays. He's over here on my left. Speaking of volunteers, we had a minimum of 11,100 hours donated. These were the documented hours. And I can assure you, based on my experience, that this is probably way understated. I know, quite frankly, I'll ask one of the volunteers that had done something, did you put in, well, I forgot. I know I'm somewhat guilty of that. I did an exhibit on the north-south trek across Nevada, and I probably put 40 or 50 hours in at home that I didn't record. So I think that number is really low. We have a pressing need for additional volunteers. And I think I've actually given you a little handout we're passing out to various people asking help trying to identify new volunteers. Unfortunately, a lot of our volunteers, like myself, are in the senior citizen category, and we're losing them. And that's tragic, but that's the way it is. We would like to see, let me make a comment about one aspect of the volunteers. Because of our limited numbers, we, over the past year, you saw how many events we were participating in. Sometimes these events involve where commitments have been made on behalf of the museum without coordinating with us. And that leads to some, shall we say, discomfort when we try to find the volunteers to man the museum during those hours. And there's a lot of times it becomes an issue of whether we're actually going to be able to find a volunteer to do it. So we would like maybe in that one aspect a little better communication with the city on scheduling events without coordinating with us. We would like, if at all possible, to maintain that within the hours we're normally open. And as I indicated, the train is an extremely popular event. 4,512 visitors in 2017-18, of which 747 were on school scouting tours or children with adults. The kids love the ring the bell. And when I'm on that end of the gate during an event, I always tell the adults if they're 12 at heart, they can ring the bell, and they all do. So in any case, it's a very popular exhibit. Last Chance Joe. When we put these numbers together, I almost fainted. I couldn't believe it, but that project, which we estimated when we agreed to take it over, would be $35,000, $40,000, ended up being $83,013.04. That's a huge hit for us. Now, fortunately, due to a lot of people, and some of them are listed there, we were able to do it. And without those people, it would not have been possible. And you see Silver Wings, Steiner family again. Max America was the original donor. Senator Ratty, the Nugget, David Dahl, Bourbon Square, Sandoval Campaign, Martini family, and all other donors. So it has been a huge community effort, actually, by everybody. And you see where the expenses went. We have a net balance in the fund right now of $2,708, which will go towards upkeep and repainting. We're still collecting donations. We figure about every 5 years we're going to have to repainting. So we need to continue to try to solicit. Note also the Nevada specialty license plate. We deliberately titled that Heritage of Sparks to try and convince Sparksonians that they really need that license plate.
Gotta have them.
Yeah, gotta have them. And today we've only sold 125. We would like to have 1,000. We have about 3 more months to get to 1,000. If we don't get to 1,000, the state will quit issuing them. We'll continue to get the $20 a year from each plate that's in existence. So in other words, once the plate is there, if you've signed up for it, then you can keep that plate forever. And if there's each annual renewal, we would get $20 from that. Now, obviously, if we could sell 1,000 plates, that's $20,000 a year, which would be a huge contribution to our financial stability. So I'd like to encourage everybody to go and buy a plate.
Buy a plate.
And it would be really helpful. We have a historic tours app, which not very many people are aware of. We've looked at it recently, and we need a lot of more updating on it, and we're in the process of looking about updating it and making it more user-friendly. But it has been in existence, has been used minimally, but it has been used by a number of people, and we appreciate that. And the last slide, what are we going to do in the future? Well, obviously, we want to increase the frequency and expand the topic breadth of our programming, although I think it's been pretty broad to begin with. We need to refine our financial strategies and identify new sources for funding to sustain the Heritage Museum. We want to work with the City of Sparks to complete the renovations of the library building. I'm happy to report that the repair of the stairwell to the second floor is under consideration at the moment. The members of the Sparks department that's responsible for repair works has been at the museum, and they've looked at it, and we anticipate that going forward here pretty soon. And then we identify possible new approaches for soliciting additional volunteers. And I believe that's the end. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Dr. Simmons, thank you for the update. I would like to commend you especially on the programming that you're doing and the wide variety, the scope of it, and I especially appreciate how many things are art-related. Serving with the EDON committee, looking at business and the arts and how important arts are to driving our economic vitality in the region, and finally getting Art Town in the last couple of years in Sparks as well. And as our Victorian Square redevelopment continues, the museum and the cultural center are an integral part of that. So I appreciate the art events, hope that that keeps growing. Would encourage people to rent the cultural center. If you have not been up there, and I've held a couple of events up there and attended things that were there, it is for the rental that you charge, one of the most beautiful facilities that you could rent for a private party, for a special event, for meetings, for whatever. I think it's a hidden jewel that people don't realize. So I would encourage people maybe generate some more revenue with that and just talk to other people about it because it's a great facility. And I would also encourage people to go get that Last Chance Show license plate. And for those of us who have it, I guess part of the selling point would be that it's going to be a novelty, especially if they discontinue it. So you need to go out and get it right now, because if we don't get 1,000, you will have one of the few plates in the region. So thank you again for the work that you and your volunteers do.
Well, on behalf of the staff, I appreciate that, and thank you for those comments.
Anyone else? Good.
Do we still have openings for the bus tour? The Donner Party bus tour?
I'm sorry?
Do we still have openings for
Oh,
the
I'm sorry.
Donner
Yes,
Party?
I don't remember the date. Andy, date? Okay, October 20th, we're doing another bus tour, Donner Party bus tour with Fred Horlacher, who most people who are older remember him as a history teacher here in Sparks. And he will be leading the tour, and we do have space. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. We'll just hope that the bus trip doesn't come to the same as the Donner Party, okay?
It hasn't in the past.
We hate to see that, okay? Any more comments? Dr. Simmons, thank you so much for the update.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
And a lot of people don't realize it, but it's a nice little museum. It's a great gem that in Sparks that people don't even realize is there, which is pretty sad.
Well, I've said all along, I think it's a remarkable museum, not only because of the exhibits and programs, but when you look how much we do with so little, and the volunteers are at the heart of it. And thank you very much.
Exactly. Appreciate it.
It's the old library. Yep. I keep calling it the library. I know.
Okay, 7.3 is a commendation for the Cantina Los Tres Hombres. And I'm going to let Donald read this. Is there someone here from Cantina that will accept this? Come on down, please. Come on down. I'm going to have Donald read this as it's his ward.
Perfect. Whereas Cantina Los Tres Hombres was established in 1987, the brand and Victorian Square location were purchased by Role Model LLC Justin Quinton, that's right, I hope, in 2008, 1 year later, Role Model LLC was opened Cantina del Lobo at the University of Nevada, Reno. And whereas Justin Quinton has been a part of the Northern Nevada community for over 22 years, becoming the owner and operator of Role Model LLC, Cantina Los Tres Hombres, and Cantina del Lobo, was an accomplishment that had been in the making since he started dishwashing at the age of 15. Working every position of the restaurant, including managing corporate establishments, have all led to successfully owning his own establishments. When the opportunity to open another location at the outlets at Legends Mall was presented, it appeared to be a good fit for the concept. After careful consideration and the support of the general manager of Cantina Los Tres Hombres, Jaime Morin, they decided to move forward. And whereas Jaime Morin and Justin Quinton teamed up as partners for this new venture, forming QM Restaurant Group, LLC. Jaime Morin has been a member of the Northern Nevada community for 35 years and with Cantina Los Tres Hombres since 1987. Like his partner, they share a similar path to owner/operator, and whereas Jaime Morin and Justin Quinton look forward to providing the same great Cantina Los Tres Hombres food, beverage, entertainment, and service to the city of Sparks at their newly renovated second location, the Outlets at Legends Mall. And now, therefore, I, Donald Abbott, on behalf of Gino R. Martini, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby join with the City Council in welcoming Cantina Los Tres Hombres to their newest location in the City of Sparks.
You have something you want to say, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah. All I can say is thank you very much to the City of Sparks. My family and I are very grateful to be part of this community. We've been here almost 35 years, like he said. Most of our lives we've been here. My older kid is 34, so all his life he's been in this area, and we love it. That's why we stick around, and we plan to stick around for a long time. Thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your investment in the City of Sparks. We love it, too. We love your cantina to be here, and now 2 places. That's wonderful. Thanks for the investments you've made and trust in Sparks. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Good luck at the Legends.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Photo up. Go ahead there, Donald. Sure, go ahead. I'm sorry, Christopher.
That's okay. I just wanted to say real quick, if you've not had a chance to go down there and see, they've done an amazing job with that restaurant and redoing it. They put a lot of work into it, and it's the old jazz.
It's right across from the entrance to the theaters.
But we were in there, and I just got to say, as an owner, I went back to say hi to him, and he's back there doing the dishes. This guy does everything and makes it happen. But the food's great. It's an awesome time, and it's nice to have restaurants like that in our place. But good job, and thanks for all that you do. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you guys for all the support.
Thank you. Okay, consent items 8.1 through 8.4. Anybody want to pull a consent item? Okay, looking for a motion. I think we can use the machines now. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Mr. Abbott?
I move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.4.
Mr. Smith?
Second.
Moved by Donald Abbott, seconded by Mr. Smith to approve the agenda items 8.1 through 8.4 as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to general business. 9.1, discussion and possible action on Councilman Ed Lawson with the consensus of the mayor and the council submitting a supportive op-ed piece to the Reno Gazette-Journal concerning Senate Joint Resolution SJR 14. Go ahead, Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Steve Driscoll, city manager. For the record, I just wanted to kind of introduce this issue. You use the legislative team through your process related to things from the state level. And from time to time, your legislative team likes to get advice from the council as a whole. And this is one of those times. Mr. Lawson's been intimately involved on discussions of SGR 14. This is related to the property tax for the state of Nevada, and there are several issues. There have been lots of conversations, and some of them not all truthful as far as the representation of what that bill language says and what it contemplates. So Mr. Lawson, in a discussion in our legislative team meeting, suggested that maybe there be an op-ed piece to the Gazette-Journal that would lay out exactly what the language says for SJR 14 and why it's important to jurisdictions like Sparks. And so this would be an opportunity for the council to consider, and with approval, Mr. Lawson would work with staff and take suggestions from the body on putting together a piece to put into the paper as soon as possible if it's approved. And with that, I would defer to Mr. Lawson.
Mr. Lawson, questions for Mr. Lawson, or Mr. Lawson, go ahead.
Well, before I go picking a fight with the assessor, I thought you guys should know, and that's all I'm asking, if you're okay with that. There's been a misinformation on his side, and it's time we got the record straight. This is important for the city of Sparks as far as our future. You know, we cannot continue to grow at these rates, and at some point, the way our tax structure is set up, we're going to lose more and more money, and the city goes backwards. So, and with the 3% increase, and you get to deduct 1.5% off, at 1.5% increase in property tax every year, we're not keeping up with inflation even. So at some point, this is going to come crashing down. We need to get something on the record, and County Assessor Clark has put out some falsehoods out there, so we're trying to straighten the record out.
Mr. Smith?
You know, I agree with Mr. Lawson in his op-ed. Mr. Clark told some untruths, and it went, as soon as everybody saw it, we all went ballistic on it because he just wasn't telling the truth. So if nothing else, I'm ready to make a motion.
We got to clean up some language on the bottom there.
Yeah, that's right. You can change
Yeah, I
that.
think staff will take care of the language.
Yeah.
You and the staff together can take care of that. So go ahead, Ron.
I move to approve Councilmember Ed Lawson's op-ed on SJR 14 and submit to the Reno Gazette-Journal for publication.
The second, Mr. Abbott?
I'll second it, but I would like to
go ahead.
make a comment.
Go ahead. Sure. Okay, wait, one minute. We have a motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Mr. Abbott with comments. Go ahead.
Yeah. This will be coming from the city. This is going to be a City of Sparks
This
author.
is me, but it'll be my voice that's out there.
So your name's on.
Yes, my name will be on it,
the
but
bottom.
It'll be on
I
there.
want to make sure I'm not picking a fight that you guys don't want to be involved in.
And I believe the wording is going to take care of that on behalf of the mayor and council. You're coming forward with this, so it's actually a council mayor thing.
This is one of those legislative things from time to time that we do, and we want to make sure that the whole council's on board with what the legislative committee's doing.
And then one more, if I may. You know, I know he's not the only one saying things that aren't fully true. There's some candidates out there too. So I don't know. I know we don't have they're not currently elected,
Exactly.
but it's still false facts.
We can hold the electeds to a higher standard.
Just want to spread that out.
That's scary. Ms. Bybee.
I agree wholeheartedly, and I think the thing that's really important for us to have this before the election is for what Councilman Abbott just alluded to with other candidates, not just the assessor, but other candidates and their message, and making it very clear to the voters what this means. So the people they're going to elect that will go into session, into the next legislative session, considering this bill, I think the clarity for the voter, for the average voter to understand what it does and does not do, that is critical information boiled down to just the basic facts of what is true, what it would mean, what the impact would mean, I think would also help voters as they're deciding who they're going to vote for to send to the legislature, and then all of us as we follow the legislature on why this is important to be clear, to have that information and what the impacts are that all of us wrestle with property taxes in our system that is broken, and that we're the only state in the whole country that doesn't reset our property values at point of sale. We're the only one. So I don't think people know that, and I think this would be critically important. So I agree with it, and with our voice, with it representing the whole council, not just Councilman Lawson. I'm in support of that.
Mr. Dare.
And I'd just like to echo agreed. If we don't figure this out, and this is just anybody out there listening, If you have any questions, please make sure you contact us. Make sure we can be the one giving you information. If we don't figure this out, this is where when we talk about needing more police, we need fire, we need all this stuff. We can't make decisions of growth and strategically be ahead and give you the infrastructure we promised you. And so if we don't get this figured out, we're in trouble. So I commend you, Councilman Lawson, stepping up and putting that out there. And yes, we're happy to pick a fight. That's what that means. But
And you know what, I've been known to pick a fight once in a while, but when I'm right, I'm right, and when we're right, we're right. And just so it's on the record, this bill does not raise your property taxes, period. It does not raise your property taxes. It merely resets the house's depreciation upon sale to someone else. As long as you live in your house, like I live in mine, mine's about 80% depreciated now. As long as I continue to live here, I will get the rest of my depreciation, or 80% of my 75%, and then I will bottom out, and that's the tax I'll pay forever. If I sell that house, the new person will pay the upgraded amount, which is fair. If I've lived in the same house for 50 years, I should pay a lower rate. But if I'm continually moving, I'm using new services. I need more policemen. We need more firemen. We need all the streets. It all is interrelated. So just by virtue of you buying an old house should not relieve you of paying those correct taxes. So it will not increase your property taxes. And that's the big one right there that I keep hearing is it's going to increase your property tax. It's not, as long as you don't sell your house.
Mr. Dare.
Sorry, just one quick thing too, and it might even be a wise thing you might want to think about in the op-ed, is that there is a portion of this that also for those who are on fixed incomes that gives them ability to not even be affected by this. And so it's important that that is out there as well, even if you're moving, you're in that situation, that it is thought about even being concerned for that. So thank you.
Here we have a motion on the floor. Everyone understand the motion? Okay, looking for the vote. Screen, please. All in favor? Please vote. Passes unanimously.
It'd be funny if I voted no.
Let's go to 9.2, consideration possible approval. Did I miss something?
You're just losing control down there.
I lost control.
It says 2 at the end.
13 years ago, I lost control there. Consideration of possible approval of interlocal agreement AC 5522 for the operation of the Community Assistance Center and other homeless services among the City of Reno, Washoe County, and City of Sparks for fiscal year 2018-19 for approximately $283,889. Go ahead, George.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council members. George Graham, Housing Specialist for the record. Today, I'll be presenting staff's recommendation for the City Council's consideration to approve the interlocal agreement for the operation of the Community Assistance Center and provision of the homeless services. The origins of the interlocal agreement dates back to 10 years, when in July of 2008, the mayors of the City of Reno, City of Sparks, and chair of the County Commission hosted a homeless summit to address the homeless issues affecting the regional community. The three jurisdictions agreed to the funding formula, and which equates to 1 cent of property tax, equivalent for the cities of City of Reno and City of Sparks, and 1/2 cent of property tax equivalent for the Washoe County. For the coming year, the aforementioned formula will produce a combined total of $3,628,163 between the local governments. And the City of Sparks funding level towards totals $283,899, whereas $107,373 will be CDBG and the $176,526 of the general fund to assist operation of the CAC. All line items have been budgeted for in this coming year. And the other participants is the other agreement includes the City of Reno, Washoe County, and Washoe County is at a level of $2,531,637, City of Reno at $812,627, and again, City of Sparks at $283,899. In closing, I am hereby recommending the City Council's approval to the interlocal agreement, and this concludes my presentation. And
Okay, questions
I'm
for
prepared
George?
now for any questions.
Ron Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. George, I find it interesting that we're making this deal with the city of Reno, but they usually farm it out to Volunteers of America. Who are they doing with this? They don't mention anybody in here.
Volunteers of America is
It's VOA, but I don't see that in here anywhere.
Are they still a provider?
Huh?
Still who it is.
Yeah.
So how come they don't mention it in here? That's Mr.
Because
Driscoll?
the contract's up in January 1, I
Go ahead,
think.
Steve.
Mayor, members of the council, Steve Driscoll for the record. Some of the confusion with this particular agreement is this is the third year of a 3-year contract, and all this is doing is solidifying the fiscal equation that we've agreed to because the numbers change slightly each cycle. And so as a matter of detail, the services that are being provided and the dollar value by percentage that's been agreed to is exactly the same. So it is a continuation of the current VOA agreement. It is using the same formula we've used in the past. Our dollars are slightly different because of assessed value for the 1 cent of property tax. We are in the third year, and the managers are working together to rework this contract. So this will be the last time you see this particular issue in this form. There will be a new agreement since a new agreement needs to come forward. You'll be seeing some conversation and being asked for some negotiation points in the near term. But this is merely just finishing the third year of a 3-year deal.
Thank you.
And this is a recommendation from the CHAB, is it not?
This is a recommendation from the managers on behalf of of what was formerly the Transitional Governing Group. CHAB will be kind of the overseer of the future contract. Okay. This was under the Transitional Governing Board.
All right, looking for a motion. Mr. Dare.
I move to approve the interlocal cooperative agreement for operation of the Community Assistance Center and other homeless services among the City of Reno, Washoe County, and the City of Sparks for fiscal year 2018 and 19.
Ms. Bybee.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Dare, second by Ms. Bybee to approve 9.2 as outlined by staff. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. That's unanimously. Thanks, George. Good job.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, 9.3 is a first reading of Bill number 2745. Ms. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Bill number 2745, an ordinance amending section 20.05.013 of the Sparks Municipal Code defining an aggrieved person for purposes of planning and zoning appeals, conforming appeal timelines to Nevada law, and providing other matters properly related thereto.
This is the first reading for Bill number 2745. The public hearing and second reading of this bill will be conducted at a City Council meeting on Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 2 p.m. 9.4 is a first reading of Bill number 2746. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Bill number 2746, an ordinance amending chapters 1.10 and 20.05 of the Sparks Municipal Code regarding publication of certain notices and providing other matters properly related thereto.
This is the first reading of Bill number 2745 and 2746. The public hearing and second reading of this bill will be conducted at this regular City Council meeting on Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 2 p.m. 9.5 is also a first reading.
Bill number 2747, an ordinance amending chapter 1.12 of the Sparks Municipal Code relating to contempt of court and providing other matters properly related thereto.
This is the first reading of Bill number 2747. The public hearing and second reading of this bill will be conducted at the regular City Council meeting on Monday, October 22nd, 2018 at 2 p.m. Okay, moving on. 12.1, comments from the public. Anyone from the public want to speak? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Comments from the mayor, City Council, and City Manager. Anyone? Mr. Dare, go ahead.
I just want to remind anybody out there looking for something to do this weekend, the Nugget has a Southern, what's it exactly
Southern
called?
Fair.
Southern Fair, and they're gonna have Southern food, sweet tea, country music, and all that kind of stuff down there. And it's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, so it's gonna be a great time. And want to invite you down. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Driscoll, nothing. Okay, all right, seeing no further business, we're adjourned. Thanks.